Hello and welcome to the training orientation video for the Regional Waste Management Authority. My name is Eric Zetz. I'm the Director of the Regional Waste Management Authority, otherwise known as RWA as an acronym. This video will be used to either provide you orientation or provide you a refresher as an introduction and an overview of the authority, of some of the things that you can expect to find as an employee working here. So let's begin. I'm going to share my screen and provide some slides for you. Bear with me as I get that in play, and let's begin. So the first thing that you should be aware of is that the authority is a joint powers authority. It was established in 1972. The current term of the authority is from 2013 through 2036. There are shared benefits of the jurisdictions that are benefited by the authority. These benefits include costs, diversion of recyclable materials, compliance with regulations, and of course facility assets. The collection services are not a part of the authority's operations. These are delegated to the member agencies. And flow control for the authority is all of the jurisdictions must provide direct solid waste recycling plant material to the authority's facilities. The authority reports to the governing board. The governing board is made up of the cities of Dos Palos, Livingston, Atwater, Los Banos, Gustine, and of course Merced, and also the Merced County. The employees of the authority are many. We've got just about over 30 employees at the two sites, and you could be involved in any number of operations. The RWA director reports to the executive director. The executive director of MCAG governs both the authority, the transit operations, planning, and the MCAG functions, including RWA. So one of the landfills of the two that the authority operates, you could be working at, which here you see this is Billy Wright Landfill. The site consists of 150 acres. It's a beautiful site. Tons per day, which is the TPD you see on the bottom left of your screen, is about 800 tons a day of trash is what's brought into the landfill. And the site life for that site is estimated to be anywhere from 33 years to 74 years, and that is dependent upon importation. We do allow importation to both sites, the Highway 59 and the Billy Wright landfill. However, if the board would choose to not approve importation, then this waste material would not come to these sites and thus would extend the lifespan of the cells. Here is our Highway 59 landfill site. At this site, we have 610 acres. Total trash per day is somewhere about 1,100 tons per day, and the site life is 48 years to 63 years, with the same factor in mind with the importation. The jurisdictions that the authority landfill sites serve are then the collection haulers are made up of multiple haulers. Here we have for the area in yellow, you'll see Winton Disposal, in green, Jilton Solid Waste, in purple, City of Merced, in blue, Allied Waste, in red, Allied Waste, and then in brown, Mid-Valley Disposal. These are representative of the collections efforts that bring material into our two landfill sites. So as discussed, the collection services are provided by the jurisdictions. There are 3 cart systems for the City of Los Banos, City of Merced, and Merced County by subscription. If you are an employee that ends up having to work in the reporting section of the authority, this would then help you to understand the various streams of reporting, that being garbage, yard waste, and recycling for the City of Los Banos, Merced, and Merced County. In In the two-cart system, which is only garbage and yard waste, then you would have the cities of Atwater, Dos Palos, Gustine, and Livingston, that their electronic annual reporting would be conducive of just the two-stream services. So functions at the authority and services, we have scale house operations. So you could be an employee that's working at the scale house. That includes taking in money for material that is brought into the landfill site and reconciling the end-of-day reports to the funds collected. You could be a maintenance worker or an equipment operator that works in the landfill operations, operating equipment, being a flagger, working on equipment as a mechanic, or you could be involved in a management position that then requires you to take different reports and measurements at the landfill sites. We have a recycled material transfer station where recyclable materials are there. We generally have an equipment operator that uses a loader to load up material and put it into long bed trailers that are then hauled off site. And then the transport and material processing, if you're a manager or a staff analyst that works in the reporting aspect of the authority, then you would be involved with identifying and documenting the cost and the material tons associated with transport material processing. Together with green waste material, we do have a compost operation on site, which we provide compost operations to our farmers. So you could be involved with helping to turn the compost on a regular basis, or take samples of the compost for reporting purposes. We have a hazardous waste collection and disposal site. The hazardous waste disposal site is our events that we do frequently throughout the year for the employees to collect hazardous waste items for the public and dispose of them. We also have staff that is involved with disposal and diversion reporting. In this case, the electronic annual report, some of the information with CalRecycle then is used for the benefit of the jurisdictions. And of course, regulatory compliance. This includes, you could be a landfill employee that must work with our local enforcement agency when they come to inspect the site, or CalRecycle staff that come in to look at the site, or different permits and laws that you must get for environmental or permitting issues for new construction to the site. So training at a landfill is very involved, and it is for your safety, and so it's very important that you take the required training when you do come on to site. You will be given training in each of the topics that are listed here, and you will have both introductory training before you're put onto the job site. You'll also have weekly tailgates at which training and safety topics will be reinforced. The topics that you see here are all training that is required for an equipment operator, a lead worker, a supervisor, a maintenance worker, or anyone that is working at a landfill. This includes accident prevention investigation, settling fuel and gas safety, battery handling charging, compaction equipment, confined space, equipment, emergency action plan, ergonomics, evacuation, trenching, shoring, fall protection, fire extinguisher protection, first aid CPR, flagger, flammable liquids, hazard communication, HAZWOPER, hearing noise protectors exposure, heat stress, heat illness prevention, forklift training, injury and illness prevention program, job hazard analysis, lockout blackout, machinery and equipment, personal protective equipment, pesticide safety, respiratory protection, safety tailgate meetings. You could be a supervisor that requires additional supervisory training, and if you're involved in welding and cutting, you could then be required to have some welding and cutting training. In short, and in summary, any training and all training that is needed for your job will be provided. So if you're a scale house employee, this is what our scale house looks like at Highway 59. This would be a place where then you would work in the green scale house that is listed there. As the public comes into the two entry scales, they will then drop their material, or they will park on the scale rather, and they will exit their vehicles coming to the scale house. And then when they get to the scale house, the scale house employees, the scale house attendants will then assist them and help them with issuing them a ticket for going to the landfill site to dispose of, or going to a resource center to go to dispose of, and then in return giving them a weight ticket that has a payment due for the cost of material deposited. There are at the scale 2 public scales that allow the public to use, and then there's a third automated scale, which is for the benefit of our jurisdictions who have, and others, commercial businesses who have taken the time to bring in, weigh the tare weight of their vehicle, and have been issued a RFID chip that goes into our scan bar such that they can go through that third no weight scale and be scanned, and then go and deposit their material and then come back through the bypass lane of the scale. If you're an equipment operator, maintenance worker, or a hands-on deck acting at the landfill, this is your first picture of the Highway 59 landfill. Here you'll see that the trucks come in and will tip at the active phase of the landfill, and so wearing reflective equipment, having puncture-resistant soles are both requirements for stepping foot on the landfill surface. And this is both a dangerous environment and is one that we want to maximize safety in. So always being aware of your surroundings, head on a swivel, knowing where vehicles and trucks are at. You could be one of the equipment operators. As you see, you've got a dozer on the top of the trash that has to then use some of the equipment to either push waste or compact waste. You could be a flagger that is needed to direct traffic to and from the site. This is the landfill. We also have mattress recycling on site where the public comes and they will dispose of their mattresses. This is both for reporting purposes and for laborers that then come and stack these mattresses in a uniform fashion. They will then be loaded up on a loader and then onto a trailer and then shipped out. Here we also accept carpet and pad recycling, so the public is able to bring in carpet and recycle it here at both of our sites. The public can bring in appliances, so we accept appliances at our both sites. We have rock grinding operations. In the rock grinding operations, you could be involved with sorting, shipping, hauling this material to its designated use. It is also something that we sell to the public. We also have wood grinding operations where we've got chippers that come and grind this wood, and then it is further used for other type of agricultural purposes. We have compost grinding operations where we turn our rows of compost and we ultimately produce a very high quality compost that our farmers use in their crops. Hazardous waste and collection and disposal, we have events at the authority. Here you'll see one of those events where it is delineated which pathway the public comes into our site, and the public does not come out of their vehicles to process the material that they've brought. Rather, the contracted staff would then take those items out of their vehicles and put it to its designated hazardous waste area. This is something that is provided to the public as part of the services the authority provides. So we have a recycling transfer station. Here you see where that transfer area is for recyclable materials. One of our employees will be on a loader, and this is an equipment operator or a trained maintenance worker that will then take the material, load it onto a trailer, that the trailer then transports that material to a processing facility. And so here you will see the need to be trained on either equipment or flagging or both, depending upon your participation in this effort. And the blue container that you see, this is where, if the jurisdictions do have recyclables, they will put them in their blue container, and those blue containers come to this transfer station. That blue material, recyclable material, is then loaded on a trailer, and it then goes out to a processing plant. that we have contracted with. It is not authority's processing plant, but rather a contractor's processing plant. And so the processing plant will then process that material, and then the material is sold on a commodities market, and then the proceeds of that are then returned against the payment of the material. So currently right now, there's a processing fee and a transport fee, and both of these costs and revenues are dictated by the contract approved by the governing board for the services provided to the jurisdictions. And again, this is out of the blue container. So if you're an employee that is working in our diversion management section of the authority, you will then be responsible for reporting on behalf of the material that's brought in from the haulers. This report, it will identify the origin of the material, the amount of tons brought into the site, and then the amount of tons that are reused or sent out of the state. And so here's a diagram that kind of gives you that snapshot of where a material can come from its hauler to a facility, to the agency, county, or jurisdiction, and then ultimately the materials reported to CalRecycle. And so each of these arrows present a regulation stream that we would need to report on. So if you are one of the staff analysts or one of the management group in the diversion program effort, these are the areas that you would have reports for. So each of our jurisdictions have what's called a variable tipping fee rate. So what you need to know is that each of the jurisdictions have paid a tipping rate that is based upon the distance of the jurisdiction from its jurisdiction to the neighboring landfill facility, either Billy Wright or Highway 59, and then also the amount of material that they are bringing. So here you see a tiered hauling tiered price by hauling distance, which makes up the variable tip fee rates for each of the jurisdictions. There's a gate rate for the employees, and then, I'm sorry, not for employees, but there's a gate rate for the public. And then there's for importation of material that comes into the site from outside of the county, depending upon the amount of tons that's brought in. For example, if an individual is going to bring in 2,000 tons a month to one of our sites, because the material is so large and it's a large equipment that comes in, there's generally a discount given to those types of large amount of materials brought to the site. So overall, for the 2021 tipping fee, the average is $36.22 a ton for each of the jurisdictions. What's important here is that the authority has not raised the tip fee for the jurisdictions in the past 7 years. So the uses of that tip fee go to pay for operations, labor, fuel, maintenance and repairs, engineering services to the site, any miscellaneous like fleet and equipment, mitigations that we must make for environmental, or contingencies that we must have, say it's land expansion, or purchases of equipment or products. Speaking of projects, we do have our capital improvement projects that speak to our expansions, infrastructure that we've got at the site, various improvements to make efficiencies in the site. The authority does have at present a municipal solid waste bond for debt, which is payable through 2027 and has a balance of just under or just over $15 million at present. And then any landfill site requires that we fund the effort of, once the site is closed, if there are any mitigation measures or any environmental mitigations, we must maintain the site for at least 30 years after the closure. So there's a closure fund that we've got to put some of those tip fees into to maintain that. For our capital improvement projects, here's a list of those projects. So if you're one of our managers that are working on engineering estimates, surveys, or project completion components, You could be in our construction area where you must attend weekly construction meetings for one of these projects to make sure that the contractor and the inspector are both on task with the work that needs to be done. We have proposed projects for various efforts and also for efforts that are upcoming. You'll see on the top left, we've got a lot of projects that are for the benefit of the sites, and then on the proposed project below, you'll see that there's some additional capital improvement projects that have really, some differences to landfill. They're now getting involved in organic processing facilities. So in California, Senate Bill 1383 requires us to plan ahead for organic waste diversion away from landfill. And so if you are one of those employees that works in that effort, this shows you the capital improvement project list that is planning and budgeting for that benefit. So this amount of project does make up a large portion of our revenues. You can see here that these projects over multiple years right here stand to be about $33.5 million, and the 1 to 3 year projection is the timeline at which that would be spent. One of the big projects that the authority board has allowed the authority to pursue is a landfill gas to energy project. We are currently working with UC Merced in hopes of finalizing a landfill gas to energy project. So if that is a part of your work responsibility, you could be involved with helping to test the gas or maintain the system, both flare and piping, turbines and gas monitoring. Just know that that's something that we are pursuing now and hopefully will be in the future. And you can see from the distance, there's UC Merced from our site, and you can see our gas well right there in view of UC Merced. And so the partnership we've got with UC Merced includes a pipeline route, right-of-way, some emissions and regulatory compliance, and the UC campus is going to utilize both energy and heat and provide revenues to the authority for those uses. One of the other projects that we're looking at is to expand the Highway 59 site by way of the Valley Fill. The Valley Fill is going to make up of cells at the 1 through 4 at the landfill site, which do have trash, and we would then cover up the, we begin placing trash in the open valley that's between those two cell areas. And so the Valley Fill is that area. If you were to come on board with us, this might be an area that is either already moved and trash is being put in, or will be at such time in the future. So the Valley Fill is a project when you come to work at Highway 59 that we're all very hopeful will occur very soon. It will maximize our airspace to the site. And here's a picture that shows you this, what we plan to do with the Valley Fill, where you would have phases 1 through 4. Phase 5 is the other site there, and we would put trash upon those cells. So if you're an equipment operator or someone working in the future in that effort, this is the plan of what we plan to do, and this is what's called the Valley Fill. So if you are in the reporting requirements for the authority, you need to be aware of Senate Bill 1383. It is a law that each of our jurisdictions are having to comply with. Because we are required to report to the state on behalf of the jurisdictions, staff at our facility is going to then compile information that is in this area here. Senate Bill 1383 requires that the jurisdictions provide collection and processing of organic material, that they monitor and enforce the collection of organic material, that they procure a certain amount of organic material away from the landfill, that the jurisdictions implement ordinances and policies to mandate the collection and provision of organic services. There's a provision for edible food recovery, where food must be recovered in each of the jurisdictions. There's a component for outreach and education, which at the authority we would be then looking to provide and assist the jurisdictions with. And then reporting and record keeping is something that the authority does on behalf of the jurisdictions, so long as they would participate in Senate Bill 1383 material processing at the authority sites. And then any other requirements that Senate Bill 1383 would have, we would then be involved in the reporting process of that. Here's a snapshot of what 1383, if you're not familiar with it, its timeline. CalRecycle initiated formal rulemaking in 2018, and then by January 1 of 2020, the state was looking to achieve 50% reduction of the organics disposal of each jurisdiction's 2014 baseline. January 1 of 2022, the jurisdictions must have organics recycling programs in place. These programs are enforceable, and regulations do take effect on January 1 of 2022, and the jurisdictions must implement ordinances or an ordinance to pursue the implementation. By January 1 of 2024, jurisdictions must take progressive enforcement actions against non-compliant regulated entities. These would include generators, haulers, processors. Now, the authority does not have generators, haulers, and processors, so as of yet, so you can see where the jurisdiction's participation is going to be huge in these areas. And then by January 1 of 2025, the state hopes to achieve a 75% reduction in organics disposal from the jurisdiction's 2014 baseline, and hopes to recover a minimum of 20% of disposed edible food for human consumption. So some of the challenges that we have are that right now the authority does not have a facility to facilitate this organic receivables at our sites. And so our governing board is going to have to choose what to do to fill that infrastructure gap. So in the future, maybe when you're employed with us or after you've been with us for a while, options for the governing board are to issue a design, build, operate request for proposals for facility construction at our Highway 59 site. As it relates to the west side communities, in the city of Los Banos is the largest city there on the west side, and they have worked out a 10-year agreement with a hauler, Mid-Valley Disposal, who is going to be taking their organics. And so the other jurisdictions on the west side are still going to be allowed to bring their materials there, but aren't currently collecting the organics material. And so there's some more dialogue that we hope to have there in that area. So again, going back to Highway 59, we could issue the design, build, operate RFP for facility construction, or we could issue an RFP for a third-party organics processor. This may require an additional transfer infrastructure. Or the member agencies individually can just contract with their own providers. If you're an employee that works on reporting on those services, if a jurisdiction does decide to participate on their own with 1383 measures, then we would not be responsible for reporting on their behalf. Now, if they do then bring in their organic material to us and do participate with our facility, we would then take on that ownership of that reporting material. And if you're an employee working on reporting that, you'd be required to report on their behalf. So network files. When you come into your job, one of the first things that you need to do is get familiar with your email and your laptop and your inbox and where mail is received and taken and just where things are at. One of the things I want to point you to is the network files, the network folder, the O drive, which stands for operations, is where your folder will go. And so you will place a folder in the operations, the O drive, and that will be your folder to put material into and create folders for your use. Here you see in the O drive some areas for alternative daily cover, annual aerials, a Billy Wright folder, projects, consultants, files from the county, a Highway 59 folder, etc. This is going to be where you grab the majority of your work and save your work. The next thing is timesheet. We process a timesheet that is online. and the system is called a one-point payroll system. And with that, what you'll do is you'll enter your username and your password. You'll see the yellow arrow is pointing to where that password would be. If you do click the remember username, this will help to keep in your username so you don't have to input it each time. And then you log in. Once you're logged in, you're going to go up to the top bar here where the three bars are at, and you're going to click that top bar. Once you click that, you're going to then be able to bring down and find either information related to you. You can click on your time, and there you see timesheet. And if you click timesheet, you can go to your current timesheet, you can go to historical timesheets, or you can change a request. Maybe you had a time off. You'll see below that is time off. The time off button will then go to balances of your leave, vacation, etc. You can verify your work schedule, your benefits. Really, it's got everything in a one snapshot area. So let's say you're trying to input your timesheet. So you come down here and you click timesheet, you click your current timesheet. And then when you got to your current timesheet, it would look something like this. And here in each of the boxes, you would then input a hour amount for your days of work, and then you would tab to the next day until you're done. And when you're done entering your time here, you'll go up to the very top where it says save, and you'll click save. Now, if this was a timesheet that you were looking to turn in for approval, you would then click submit for approval. Some websites that you should be aware of. Now again, the Regional Waste Management Authority is underneath the umbrella of MCAG, Merced County Association of Governments, and their website is www.mcagov.org. So you'll want to be mindful of that. And there below, you can click on any of the sites that are there to get to transit or the bus, Measure V, or the authority. And if you were to click on the authority, now that website, www.mcrwma.org, you can then get services and information related to our what we offer to the public and the residents of Merced County. And I would encourage you to go to these sites and visit them and get familiar with what it is that we provide to the public, so that when you're asked questions, you'll be better knowledgeable to the services that we provide. So I want to, again, just thank you and welcome you to the authority, and tell you that it's a great place to work. This is my contact information should you need to get a hold of me, and I look forward to the opportunity to getting to know you. So again, I want to thank you for coming to work for MCAG and the Regional Waste Management Authority, and do not hesitate to ask if you have any questions. Welcome and thank you.